Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Stoked to be here.
Yeah. Hey, I want to dive right in today. You spent your career at the intersection of real estate and technology, from scaling digital products at startups and leading digital transformation at arguably the largest and most well-known property management firm in America, maybe the world. Uh, from that vantage point, what are the biggest opportunities you see in innovation in real estate today, and how do events like Retcon help accelerate that industry-wide conversation?
Yeah, God, where to start? I mean, there are a ton of opportunities, and I think there've always been opportunities in real estate because it's such an interesting space, and there's so many different parts of it. It's one of the more complicated businesses, when you look at it across, especially when you think about multifamily. I've had, as we've grown the team here at Greystar, I bring in people either who've been in the industry around technology, in other areas, or maybe haven't been around it. And I always kind of say, like, hey, it's going to take a minute because it's complicated, right? I've done startups, so I've been at, you know, probably 6 or 8 companies, right? And everyone thinks technology is really complicated, and it can be, but it's a really complicated industry. It's a really complicated space. So that creates opportunity. And then I think, you'll throw in AI, which I'll mention 50 to 1,000 times in our conversation today, right? And it just rocket fuels what the opportunity is. So, the biggest areas I see when I think about opportunity are automation and augmentation, right? So
Mm.
automation, what are things that we can actually take off those rote tasks, those things, whether it's a phone call coming from a curious prospect at 2 a.m., right? That's automation. Like, nobody wants to answer that call.
That's right.
Right. So that's
Not
that's
me.
automation. Yeah. Right. And then there's augmentation, right? Which is like, what are things that can supercharge the humans doing the tasks, right? Whether that's on site at the property and the analytics and the investment side. So I always look at AI through those frameworks, of like, what are we trying to automate, and then what are we trying to augment?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I maybe a little side road here. I'm interested because this conversation has come up a lot as of late. If you were just to give maybe one piece of advice to people who are trying to dive or dip their toe into AI, maybe a little bit nervous about that, where would you tell them to start? Because it's a big, wide field.
Yeah. The first thing I would say is relax, don't stress if you feel like it's moving too fast and there's too much. I've been in technology for 2 decades in the Bay Area. I've worked at Google. Everyone I'm talking to who's kind of front edge of this space and has been doing this as long, if not longer than I am, we're all going like, oh my God, I cannot believe how fast it's going. So if you're
Yeah.
feeling that, like, that's the thing, and just be like, okay, it's going fast. I would say my first thing is just start. Get Claude, get ChatGPT, get on one of these tools, play around with it, talk to it. The beauty of it is it's not going to be, you're not going to be embarrassed by it, right? You can ask it anything. I ask it things that I wouldn't ask some of my engineers because I'm like, man, if they knew I had to ask them this, they
Yeah,
would make fun of me,
right.
right? But you know, ChatGPT doesn't have that emotion, so just start and really explore. Ask it stuff that you think it couldn't possibly do, right? It's not going to be offended, and you're going
That's
to be
good.
surprised at what it can do. So that's the biggest thing, is just you really just have to start. And then there's a ton of whatever tool you're using, they all now have incredible libraries of content. So I think the biggest um, advantage people have with AI going forward is the desire to learn and figure it out. So, and I think that's what's going to separate, companies and individuals from, getting rocket fuel during this phase and maybe feeling like they're left behind, because it really is like, you just have to want to learn, you have to want to understand it. And, the AI is not judging you. I do tell my daughters, I have middle school daughters, I tell them both to say please and thank you, because I do say that,
Yes.
hey, at some point, if the robots take over, they're going to have a list. They're going to have a naughty and nice list, and we want to be on the good list. But really, I really can't overemphasize, like, just try stuff, make mistakes, ask it stuff. You're like, there's no way it'll be able to do this. Can you do this? And I think you'll just be surprised, and you'll start to learn how it works.
Yeah, you're so right. And yeah, it is so shocking what it can spit out based
Yeah.
on whatever prompt you put in. So, okay, getting back on track, at Recon, leaders and operators and technologists come together to reimagine where real estate is heading, and that is a big horizon out there. What insights or innovations do you hope to bring to the event that you're going to share, and why do you think gathering in real life, given that we all live kind of digital lives, what do you think is the value of real
I
life?
mean, you can't replace the value of being in person. I'm in our Charleston office today. I live in California. I come here, pretty regularly, and every time I come here, I'm just like, you can't replace the serendipity, right? Of just
Mhm.
conversations that happen that you don't plan, right? It's really easy on Zoom, and we have calendars, and my AI agent will schedule something with you, Mike, and we'll talk about it and then record it and then put it into AI, right? We can do all that. But there's no replacement for being together and saying like, "Hey, I had an idea. Let me bounce it off you." And I didn't have that idea when we scheduled to talk. I have it now, right? I had
Yeah.
this thought now. So I think
Yeah.
there's just you can't, you know, remote works great. I think remote. I've been on both teams, and I think remote teams are incredibly powerful. It allows for talent from different areas. But I also think you can't replace being together. So I think getting a bunch of folks together, who all have similar interests and values and desires and want to figure this out, back to learning and curiosity. Like there's no replacement for that. What do I hope to get out of it or bring to it? I hope to get out of it some of those moments of just talking to people and having ideas. This is the most exciting and unknown time I've ever operated in, right?
Yeah.
So it's exciting because the technologies we have and that are going to get built in our industry and every other industry, I think are going to make what we've done in the last 10 or 20 years look pedestrian. It's unknown because it's unknown. It's moving fast. It's changing, right? So
So fun.
we're all trying to figure it out. And that even more makes it why you want to get in a room with other smart people who are trying to figure it out, because this is new ground, right? This is early days of what's the internet going to be, what's mobile going to be, right? If you go back to other cycles, this is those, but on steroids. And so I hope to talk to other folks and get their insights on where they think it's going and what are their biggest challenges. That's really the biggest one to me. And then to bring, I'm talking about data. So I hope to bring some education and insight into how data can be that needs to be that foundation, right? And I kind of say like without good data and well structured data, AI can't save you. So,
Mm.
and then the other piece that I always talk about is really the cultural change, right? AI it's a tectonic shift. So it's not just, hey, everybody on the team use this AI tool and we're gonna go win, right? It's a full cultural change of how you think about operating, how you want your teams to operate, how you want your business to operate. So I hope to kind of learn on that and maybe give some of my opinions.
Excellent. I think it's going to be a fantastic event. One last question before we bring it to a close here, and it's really curiosity on my part. You spent a career in technology. You've seen a lot of change over time. Let's call this a metamorphosis that we're about to go through. What is the biggest transformational or metamorphic moment for you personally, having spent all this time in technology? What is that moment right now for you? What does that look
Oh,
like
it's
for
an interesting one. So I've watched all the cycles, and
you?
you know, I remember mobile and being like, "Oh, this is going to be big." I remember crypto and being like, "I'm not really sure how big this is going to
Yeah.
be." I own some Bitcoin, but I just was like, everyone was like, there was a moment there where everybody said crypto is going to change, and it's going to change, and I believe in parts of it, but it not at the level. Um, when AI hit early, ChatGPT came out. I mean, AI has been around for a long time. The real shift for us, right? Most of us was ChatGPT was November 22.
Right.
Um, I would say January, February 23, my first kind of playing with the models was just like, hey, this is going to change everything. Um, and really felt that for like, the first time in a long time. We're like, this is going to change everything. I would say the biggest, but that was the beginning of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say because I feel like back to my like, hey, how fast is it moving? I feel like every 6, 8 weeks, I have another inflection point
Yeah.
of what's happening. But I think over the last 4 to 6, call it 3, 4 months, what we're seeing is this acceleration in speed. We're seeing some of the stuff. If you've seen what Claude's done in the last couple of months, we're seeing the markets respond. And that's really where it clicked for me that why is it speeding up so much? It's speeding up so much because we started, and when I say we, meaning AI, the space, right? Started with writing code, right? That was the first use case, the first thing, right? Which, what clicked for me the last couple months is like, once the machines can write code, it just becomes exponential how fast they can work, right? If you started with accounting software. If ChatGPT said the first thing we're going to do is enable accounting, that's great. But accounting software can't build logistics software and other tools and other things. So what you're seeing is this just rapid pace of writing code, building products, building systems, working with data. And that was where I would say over the last few months, it became clearer to me just how incredibly fast this is going to move, and faster than I probably thought a year ago.
And do you, sorry, one more question to in cap this.
Yeah.
And as it relates to what you just said, and OpenClaw now being sort of an agent that governs agents, do you just see that pouring gasoline on a fire?
Yeah, OpenClaw. I mean, OpenClaw is a whole another level of newness, and I'm still figuring out what that can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have agents on agents. I think the conversations we're having. I think there's two parts to it, right? I think, and this is to me one of the interesting conversations I want to have at Redcon, which is, um, I say there's without data, AI can't save you, but the robots. I'm an AI optimist, right? So you need the right people using AI in the right way, right? And so the interesting combination for companies and for individuals, like how do you get the right teams, right organization, the right organizational structure with AI, with your data, right? It's all those things
That's right.
together. So OpenClaw, and for those listening, if you don't know OpenClaw, just think like crazy automation agents doing their own thing, right? Very experimental, very early. I think that's that. I'm not sure whether that's like the next thing or is that another barrier that got broken to show what's possible, right? So I
That's
do
a good way to
think
look at it.
you're hearing, the best folks that I know right now leveraging AI, they are running multiple agents at the same time. And so I think there is a future, depending on your role and depending on the business, that you're more of a air traffic control for agents,
I
right?
like
Where
that. Yeah.
you've got multiple agents going and you're just checking in. Some of the best engineers I know, they don't write code anymore. They prompt. They're talking to, but they'll tell you it's still engineering. You're still building. You're prompt engineering. You're
Yeah.
engineering the right prompts. It's not, hey, build me this, and then you go get a cup of coffee, hang out on the beach, and come back in 2 hours. It's a much more intricate piece. So that's where again, I think the human plus AI combination to me is where the future is. But I do think, yeah, I think OpenClaw is super interesting, but I think that's another one that's like, in 2 months, is that the future? In 2 months, is that and also we just don't know yet.
It's the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And Jordan, I really appreciate you investing some time with me. If people happen to miss you at Retcon, where would they find you out on the interwebs?
Not, they won't find me. Like, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm not great at following up. I'm just going to say I'm not,
At least you're
not,
honest.
I try, but yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best place.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time, and I hope to see you
Awesome,
out
Mike.
there.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Take care.